At exactly 7 a.m., Greenwich Mean Time on the 4th of February 2026, Buckingham Palace stepped out of the shadows and released a formal declaration, following 3 relentless days of mounting tension and speculation that had gripped the royal world. The statement, sharp, concise, yet impossible to ignore, cut straight to the heart of the matter. We wish to continue negotiations in good faith with a focus on protecting underage family members and preserving the integrity of royal traditions. The message left no room for ambiguity. It stressed in no uncertain terms that children could never be used as chess pieces in media narratives or exploited for personal gain or commercial advantage. The Duke of Sussex had pledged to comply fully with legal frameworks and respect forthcoming rulings. Dialogue was still an option, but only if grounded in truth, fact, and transparency. Timing, it seemed, was everything. Less than 30 hours earlier, at precisely 21:47 Pacific Standard Time on February 2nd, Meghan Markle had uploaded an Instagram video montage from Montecito, presented as candid home footage, captioned to credit her 4-year-old daughter, Lilibet, as the videographer. The carousel of images did more than simply entertain. It included snapshots from a Disneyland outing on January 24th, a zoo visit on January 27th, and even an unpublished crayon note featuring the word family. Observers quickly highlighted troubling patterns, inconsistency, emotional manipulation, and the possible strategic use of minors in the construction of public narratives. The digital world had become a battlefield, and children were front and center. On the morning of February 1st, Princess Anne received a confidential ethics briefing prepared by Dame Ruth Vane, director of the Royal Institute for Child Protection. The report flagged disconcerting reversals in Meghan's public statements and online behaviour, signalling the possibility of a deliberate narrative strategy. That same day, Prince William convened a private legal session at Sandringham with Sir Malcolm Westerly, the family's lead counsel, and issued a pointed memorandum. "We must separate narrative from guardianship. The line has been crossed, and it cannot be ignored." Meanwhile, Meghan had touched down at Los Angeles International Airport from Dubai aboard a private flight under her newly acquired El Lara Group branding. Officially, the Dubai trip was framed as a private investment and philanthropic mission. Reports, however, later revealed luxury branding consultations at Burj Al Arab, alongside a gala appearance at the Women of Power Summit on January 30th. Crucially, no notice of her return had been given to Harry's legal team, a breach of informal agreements surrounding ongoing custody proceedings. The Instagram montage emerged just hours later, escalating the tension. The caption read, "Shot by our little angel." Palace insiders report that Princess Anne contacted Clarence House at 4:45 on February 4th, urging the Queen's statement be elevated from a private concern to a public declaration. Prince William, who had maintained silence throughout Meghan's Dubai travels, reportedly told a senior aide, "This isn't a media story. This is about child safeguarding, constitutional clarity, and moral precedent." The decision to issue the February 4th statement was reached in a midnight strategy session in Sandringham's Red Drawing Room, attended by William, Anne, Sir Malcolm, 2 unnamed child welfare advisors, and the Queen's communications director. The message could not have been clearer. The monarchy would no longer tolerate contradictions, and the welfare of Archie and Lilibet was no longer negotiable through sentiment or digital storytelling. No comment came from Meghan's legal or media team, but multiple PR analysts suggested the Instagram video had been designed to preempt custodial tightening. Geneva brand behaviourist Marai Addison told The Telegraph, "This wasn't a slip, it was an emotional intercept. Meghan is trying to reclaim moral ground before legal determinations, but that ground is shifting fast. Each public appearance, each cinematic reunion, increasingly risked alienating not only Harry, but also the remaining goodwill tethered to the Windsor legacy." By the early hours of February 3rd, the man once called the reluctant royal had entered a new phase, no longer torn between public loyalty and private despair, but anchored in a hard, unshakable resolve. Harry's response came not through statements, interviews, or polished press releases, but through a chilling absence of words and a sudden, austere return to the United Kingdom under conditions far from princely. At 5:42 GMT, a chartered flight from Geneva touched down at RAF Northolt under heavy cloud cover. Harry disembarked alone, unshaven, wearing a waxed canvas field jacket, black baseball cap low, with no visible security escort, a striking contrast to the orchestrated chaos that often surrounds a royal. The operation was hauntingly silent. He bypassed Frogmore and Clarence House, heading straight to Fort Belvedere, his late great-uncle's Windsor estate, now serving as a private crisis consultation hub. The atmosphere, according to aides, was cold, tense, and deeply introspective. The return was no impulse move. On February 1st, Harry had quietly attended a closed session at the International Family Law Congress in Geneva, observing panels on digital exploitation in parental conflicts, co-chaired by Sir Lark Wexford and Dame Sonia Balaji, two prominent figures in international child protection law. Harry had not been a guest speaker. Instead, he contributed as a confidential observer, asking detailed questions on psychological proximity bias, digital consent, and child-initiated content in adversarial custody contexts. He wasn't seeking sympathy, he was drafting a strategy. Within 48 hours, his counsel Hugo Bradshaw QC submitted an internal custodial restructuring proposal to the Royal Household Custodial Ethics Board, requesting institutional recognition of what Harry termed parental asymmetry in digital responsibility. On February 3rd, Harry met privately with Princess Anne at St George's Chapel Crypt Library in a meeting attended only by 4 aides. Anne, renowned as the firmest enforcer of royal protocol, reportedly commented, "He's not grieving, he's repositioning." Later, Prince William was seen leaving Clarence House with a draft letter supporting Harry's petition to limit all media engagement involving underage royals, marking a rare joint endorsement in 2 years. William's reasoning, according to palace sources, "The public deserves boundaries, not breadcrumbs. If we fail to protect our children, the Crown is complicit in their exploitation." Those close to Harry describe a man exhibiting fatigue, controlled fury, and heartbreak. He eats silently, speaks only to his lawyer and Princess Anne, and watches clips of the controversial Instagram video frame by frame, searching for intent, innocence, or final breach. When asked what he thought, he reportedly said, "I no longer ask what's real, I ask what's safe." This underscores the psychological distance Harry now maintains from Meghan, approaching the situation not as a husband in repair mode, but as a father under perceived threat. Meghan has yet to respond to Harry's revised custodial filings. Her last known communication, dated January 29th via Dubai's Zahir and Rothschild firm, rejected any notion that her digital content was strategic or commercial, stating simply, "Motherhood is not subject to monarchy. My identity cannot be redrafted by protocol." For Harry's legal team, that marked the definitive end of dialogue as a path to reconciliation. The palace confirmed that on February 10th, Princess Anne will preside over a custodial summit at Sandringham with experts from the family division of the High Court, digital rights attorneys, and child development specialists. Harry will present a 48-page affidavit detailing patterned digital identity, confusion, and trauma by proxy, including direct quotes from child psychologists warning that inconsistent parental narratives televised to millions create fear, confusion, and identity bifurcation in minors. Meghan has been invited but has neither confirmed attendance nor responded to document requests. The February 4th statement was more than symbolic. It signalled full institutional alignment with Harry's custodial campaign and drew a hard line against digital ambiguity cloaked in maternal warmth. One former Privy Council advisor remarked, "This is no longer a family feud. This is a constitutional firewall, and Harry is building it himself." As dawn broke over February 4th, Meghan Markle's Montecito estate resembled less a palace of reinvention and more a fortress under siege. Despite warm California sunlight and the curated Instagram serenity still floating in digital space, her inner circle was in full crisis mode. Phones switched to encrypted apps, senior advisors silenced, and the once expanding communications team had shrunk to just 4. A stark reflection of the mounting pressure surrounding the unfolding royal drama. The fallout wasn't just reputational, it was tactical, structural, and swift. In less than 72 hours, the Duchess of Sussex had gone from crafting what appeared to be an organic family story to igniting a full-scale institutional response from Buckingham Palace. The royal establishment had consolidated decisively behind Prince Harry's custody motion, signalling that the game had changed. Behind closed doors in a sleek glass office suite in downtown Santa Monica, Meghan's once unassailable PR empire, the shield and sword that had protected her public image, was quietly fracturing. On February 3rd, at precisely 9 p.st., the board of her new luxury and leadership brand, Lara Group, convened an emergency session. Internal sources reveal that 2 board members, former executives from Sephora and LVMH, voiced immediate concern over Meghan's recent social media activity. They warned it flagrantly violated the strategic neutrality clause that had been agreed upon with UAE partners. A brand cannot claim empowerment abroad while weaponizing vulnerable domestic imagery at home, one board member reportedly said. That is not narrative cohesion, it is reputational volatility. By that afternoon, Lara's Dubai-based strategic advisor had formally postponed a February 15th gala, citing risks of public misalignment. Overnight, several golf and lifestyle influencers quietly unfollowed Meghan's profile. By the evening of February 3rd, prominent allies had gone silent. Serena Williams declined to comment in Miami. Oprah Winfrey made no mention of Meghan in her latest newsletter. And Tyler Perry, rumoured to be a close financial confidant, was reportedly overseas and unreachable. The silence was telling. Engineered, even. One anonymous Beverly Hills publicist quipped to Vanity Fair, "You can feel the oxygen leave a room when a client shifts from misunderstood icon to potential liability." Back at Montecito, insiders describe Meghan as calm, almost stoic, yet defiant. Staff report long stretches of her reviewing legal briefs in the upstairs study, often writing in a leather-bound notebook titled Legacy Threads. Requests for her attendance at the February 10th custodial summit at Sandringham were reportedly refused, with Meghan telling advisers, "That table doesn't deserve my chair." Meanwhile, her legal team was quietly preparing a counter-affidavit titled Maternal Autonomy in Modern Royalism, intended for submission to the High Court. Early drafts allegedly challenged the Crown's moral authority on child privacy, citing historical exposure of royal minors in media, but even among her defenders, cracks were emerging. One former close associate commented, "She's trying to invoke Diana. But this isn't Diana versus paparazzi. This is Meghan versus a framework she herself helped dismantle." American lifestyle and celebrity outlets remained cautiously sympathetic, but British and Commonwealth media had hardened their stance. The Times published a 2,000-word editorial titled "The Children Must Come First," condemning parental performance art in legal custody contexts. The BBC aired a special segment highlighting contrasting approaches, while William and Catherine release 1 or 2 carefully curated images of their children each year. Meghan had posted over 30, many without visible consent protocols. CNN and other outlets examined the ethics of digital motherhood, consulting experts in online child protection and media psychology. Meanwhile, the Royal Monitoring Council for Public Harm Assessment, M26, had been quietly activated, composed of 3 legal advisors, a child psychologist, and 2 AI content analysts. Their role? Review all public digital content involving senior royal children, flag breaches, and assess potential harm. Leaks indicate that 4 of Meghan's recent posts, including the controversial February 2nd video, were flagged as red-level narrative conflation, signalling reputational damage and custodial concern. Princess Anne, following a January 20th meeting with the National Commissioner for Child Welfare and Online Harms, reportedly told aides, "We are no longer evaluating optics, we are measuring damage." A quieter, more consequential battle was underway, not in press releases or social media, but in legacy shaping. Meghan's remaining posts and notes stressed themes of resilience, misunderstood maternal instinct, and modern womanhood under an archaic dynasty. Her supporters argue she is persecuted for being a modern female figure in a centuries-old institution. Yet the royal establishment, now fully backing Harry, advanced its counter-narrative: institutional guardianship, legal clarity, and the re-establishment of order after years of disruption. By February 4th, metrics were already shifting. YouGov flash polls indicated 68% of UK respondents supported Harry's restrictions on public sharing of the children's images, and 71% agreed that the monarchy has the right to enforce custodial protections when the family image is at stake. The next chapter will not unfold in Instagram stories or TikTok reels, but through affidavits and sealed courtrooms. For Meghan, the platform she built is now echoing back louder than she may have anticipated. One royal historian quietly observed, "Narratives made for Instagram do not hold up under cross-examination." Behind Windsor walls, preparations for the decisive summit of February 10th accelerated. Princess Anne chaired a closed legal strategy meeting in Clarence House's Green Salon. Attendees included Sir Malcolm Westerly, Lady Fiona Winthrop, 2 representatives from the Privy Protection Division, and a special observer from the Family Division of the High Court. Their mission: finalise a draft Royal Custodial Compact, an internal legal instrument designed to limit media involvement of any royal child under 16, regardless of parental status. According to a Clark summary, the compact contained 6 key provisions. Institutional consent clause. No minor bearing a royal title may appear in public content without Crown approval. Narrative use restriction. Images or references cannot frame public disputes, fundraising, or self-promotion. Biannual review mandate. Digital exposure of minors reviewed twice yearly by the Royal Custodial Panel. Guardian disassociation trigger. Violations may shift custodial balance in favour of the other parent. Crisis response protocol. Immediate takedown and risk audit for digital misuse. International compliance appendix. Legal language harmonised with UK and US family statutes. Following the summit, Prince Harry arrived at Clarence House via the service entrance to submit a personal provision drafted by Hugo Bradshaw QC. It reportedly demanded sole approval authority over any content featuring Archie or Lilibet, and the appointment of a digital conservator for both children until adulthood. Princess Anne, reviewing the document, allegedly remarked, "This is not vengeance. This is architectural parenting." High Court insiders confirmed receipt of a preliminary counter-motion from Meghan's counsel, asserting that maternal expression is protected under jurisdictional autonomy, claiming the February 2 video was private, non-commercial, and artistically protected. Courtroom watchers describe the filing as reading more like a manifesto than a legal motion, overflowing with references to Meghan's charitable initiatives and assertions of modern feminine sovereignty. Lead counsel Amelia Royston reportedly described the Royal Custodial Compact as nobility-driven censorship. On the evening of February 4th, a private memorandum circulated internally, co-authored by Princess Anne and Prince William. Its thesis: narrative control can no longer be tolerated when it weaponizes heritage. Emotion is not contested, but the erosion of institutional stability is. The family's role is to endure, not entertain. The line is now fixed, the memo read, shared only with the Queen, the Lord President of the Privy Council, and senior strategists. The doctrine could become a historic cornerstone in modernizing royal custodial policy, balancing emotional dignity with institutional insulation. By the early hours of February 5th, 2026, the tension surrounding the upcoming Custodial Conduct Summit was more than palpable. It was almost tangible, stretching across oceans from Windsor to Montecito and echoing through courtrooms, private estates, and digital news feeds worldwide. Every single detail was being coordinated with surgical precision. Invitations were not merely sent to the UK's senior legal and royal representatives, but also to observers from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, a clear and deliberate signal that the monarchy intended to set a precedent with global implications for custodial governance within the Commonwealth. Royal protection officers had tightened the perimeter at Sandringham Estate with layers of security that rivaled those of a state visit. Each attendee, whether representing Harry's team, Meghan's legal delegation, if she chose to appear, or the palace itself, would pass through rigorously controlled checkpoints under the watch of trained operatives. Every movement, every entrance, every exit was being logged, monitored, and rehearsed. The summit, scheduled under the leadership of Dame Lynette Hargrave, a veteran child rights litigator and former UNICEF UK advisor, had been meticulously structured to leave zero ambiguity. Insiders report that should Meghan Markle fail to attend or submit inadequate legal representation, Princess Anne would immediately invoke Clause 4 of the Royal Custodial Compact, recommending provisional custodial rebalancing in Harry's favour. This was no ordinary family disagreement. This was, in essence, the first high-profile, legal and symbolic redefinition of legacy management in a hyper-digital era where social media visibility had the power to influence law, reputation, and intergenerational legacy alike. Meghan's position rested heavily on the principle of expressive autonomy. She argued that modern parenting demanded narrative freedom, that the visibility of children in the digital age was part of a parent's moral and creative rights, and that the right to craft one's story, even with institutional scrutiny looming, was essential. In contrast, Harry and the palace leaned on centuries-old principles, duty, discipline, and the understanding that inheritance, particularly within a public institution, is not simply a privilege, but a responsibility that comes with restraint. Caught squarely in the middle were Archie and Lilibet, two children whose every smile, gesture, and recorded moment had been transformed into a contested symbol. As the final hours of February 4th ticked away, the global public braced itself for a confrontation that was about more than custody. It was about who gets to control legacy in a digital-first world. Media narratives had splintered sharply across continents. In the US, Meghan's supporters framed the issue as a modern mother navigating archaic royal constraints, emphasizing feminist sovereignty and parental expression. Talk shows like The View and Red Table Talk amplified her perspective, while hashtags such as #LetMeMother and #StopTheSilencing briefly trended, buoyed by progressive influencers and high-profile Hollywood allies. Across the UK, Commonwealth, and European media, the story was framed differently. Sky News commentator Henry Boswell stated bluntly, "This is not about maternal freedom. This is about accountability, particularly when those actions ripple across generations and institutions." Polls reflected the cultural divide. 73% of UK respondents supported stricter digital rules for royal minors, while only 58% of Americans saw the palace's measures as justified. International coverage intensified further. Le Monde ran an investigative feature, La Guerre des Héritiers, The War of the Heirs, exploring continuity crises in the post-Elizabethan monarchy. The Sydney Morning Herald questioned whether emotional capitalism had become a more influential force than constitutional oversight. The New Yorker broke its previous tone with a long-form essay, The Paradox of Privacy, When Visibility Becomes Inheritance, contrasting Harry's measured silence with Meghan's performative social media presence. And tabloids sharpened their claws. The Daily Mail launched a serialized piece, The Custody Countdown, chronicling Meghan's maneuvers and hinting at sealed court documents, some so sensitive even the palace kept them from public scrutiny. Inside the palace, strain and resolve existed in equal measure. Clarence House staff described Prince William as visibly tense but unflinchingly committed, while Catherine, Princess of Wales, maintained a quiet presence but approved discreet educational briefings for George, Charlotte, and Louis, instilling the principle that privacy was part of responsibility. Princess Anne quietly intensified her engagement with child welfare organisations, leveraging the summit to press Parliament for updated laws protecting minors in public-facing roles. Harry, meanwhile, declined all media contact, attending therapeutic consultations twice weekly at Fort Belvedere. Those close to him emphasised that he was haunted, not by failed relationships, but by the moment his children stopped trusting which version of their story was real. In Montecito, Meghan worked with a newly hired crisis publicist, reportedly a former West Coast strategist experienced in high-profile reputation management. Plans were discussed for a potential televised sit-down, though no network had confirmed participation. Former aides warned that any preemptive media narrative could backfire if the summit ruled against her. For now, she remained in California, her team declining all press inquiries as February 6th arrived, leaving only 4 days before Sandringham. The atmosphere had transformed. No longer polarized, it was fractured, spanning oceans, cultures, and comment threads alike. The conflict had evolved beyond law or lineage. It was now about legacy, influence, and the right to write history. On February 10th, a low, cold mist hung over Sandringham as security gates sealed behind the final delegates. No journalists were permitted beyond the perimeter, no cameras, no aides, only sealed briefcases, black sedans, motorcades, and stone-faced individuals prepared to decide the fate of 2 children and potentially the next model of a public-facing monarchy. At precisely 900 GMT, the Custodial Conduct Summit, chaired by Princess Anne and overseen by Dame Lynette Hargrave, officially began. Present were Prince Harry with legal counsel, representatives of the royal household, independent child welfare observers, and 2 neutral moderators from the family division of the High Court. Meghan Markle did not attend. Her legal team submitted a final dossier via encrypted courier at 6:47 GMT. By 15:15 GMT, the panel reached a binding conclusion, a digital guardianship framework. All future digital media featuring Archie or Lilibet would require pre-clearance from a 3-member panel, 1 appointed by Harry, 1 by the royal household, and a neutral legal guardian. Children were barred from appearing in monetized content or brand-related materials until the age of 16. The UK became the primary custodial jurisdiction, with any international travel requiring at least 2 weeks' notice to the Royal Custodial Office. While not a full transfer of custody, these rulings drastically limited Meghan's unilateral decisions regarding digital and legal representation of her children. Princess Anne's closing words were both measured and unyielding. "We are not here to rewrite maternal instinct, nor to silence experience. We are charged with protecting those who cannot yet consent to the weight of legacy or lens. This is not retribution. This is preservation." Prince Harry remained silent, but nodded in solemn agreement, eyes fixed on the summit table. Hours later, Meghan's California-based counsel released a statement. The Duchess of Sussex maintained her position that motherhood could not be regulated through ancestral frameworks, but reserved the right to appeal through transnational legal channels. The statement stopped short of acknowledging the ruling's specifics, signalling that Meghan would not comply quietly. Post-summit polling underscored public alignment. 79% of UK respondents supported the decision, with 65% deeming it a necessary modern boundary. Support in Canada and Australia hovered at 61%, while US sentiment shifted to 48% in favour of structured protections for children of public figures. Editorials in The Times, The Guardian, and Le Figaro praised the summit's pragmatism, dignity, and strategic foresight. A Channel 4 commentator summarised the global mood succinctly. "This was never about winning. It was about reclaiming structure after years of performative chaos." As the day ended, no photos were released, no speeches were made. Only a 42-page document now resides in the Royal Archives under the title Custodial Protocol, Heirs of the Digital Age. Its opening line reads, "Where legacy intersects with media, duty must outrank visibility." And with that, the Crown turned the page. Children, once symbols of dispute, now have a legal shield. The monarchy, often criticised as reactive and aloof, had finally asserted the right to protect its youngest, even from within its own bloodline. If you want to stay updated on how this unprecedented royal custody and digital legacy battle unfolds, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the next chapter in the story that's changing monarchy for the digital age.